Hey, what is going down, everybody? This is Sarius, and welcome to a brand new Shadow Arts of Infiltration gameplay video in which we hot drop down on an amp station, come to the NC's aid, and we're going to be rocking out straight nasty with the Blitz GD10 SMG. So the first thing about dropping down on any type of point, you want to take the high ground because it gives you more options to move around. Now, don't commit to dropping down until you know that 150% you're going to be undetected. Notice how I saw one contact trying to make his way down the stairwell. At this point, I already know that there's going to be multiple contacts down below trying to siege the base. So what I do is jump down while cloaked, get a little idea as to what's going down. I drop a contingency plan, which is a bouncing Betty, just in case another enemy presses attack. Sure enough, took one down. The second guy is on his pursuit. He's pursuing me at this point. Goes up the stairs by bouncing Betty. Did the work. Love you, Betty. Gotta say, massive props. So at this point now, I'm going to be very careful because there could be another contact hiding in the corner, knowing that I just capped two of his buddies and he's going to be wanting revenge. But sure enough, all was clear. Didn't have to worry about the third guy lurking in the shadows, but I popped a recon dart down on Alpha Point just in case as we perch up and set ourselves up for an Alamo type defense. So at this point now, we're going to switch over to Infiltrator SMG defensive gameplay mode, where I'm going to be walking you through a couple strategies that you can really maximize your effectiveness. Now, in these types of situations, I think Infiltrators are definitely a force to be reckoned with because with our cloaking devices, we can get intel on where the troops are moving, fight in a circular manner, ambush, and make sure that we are still on point helping our team out. Alright, so check this out. I really want to get back up onto the rooftop to see what's going down and see if I can help my team in any way possible. But there are a lot of things that you have to think about. First off, what kind of enemies are going to be on the rooftop? Are there light assaults that have already put down squad beacons, and do they have their full team ready to ambush from the loft side? These are things you have to think about. Like, how many enemies are there, and can I take them? Okay, I want to point out one crucial thing, the dangers of lifts. You are committed to a vertical momentum and direction, which can put you in some really bad spots because there are two blind angles from the right and the left that enemies can camp the corners and kill you in literally seconds. So you always have to have an escape plan. Sure enough, my suspicions were correct. We ended up having two light assaults press their attack, trying to gain access down the stairs to the upper loft portion. And at this point now, we're going to play more of a defensive role, trying to act more like a deterrent to keep these guys at bay and do our job as NC. Now right here, you can see that the Blitz GD10 does suffer a little bit at mid-range, but it does act as a great deterrent like I'm talking about. Even though you're not killing them, you are in a way suppressing them with extra added damage. And with the 50-round magazine, you have a lot of options in terms of suppressing targets and keeping a continuous stream of fire and lead downrange that enemies are not going to want to keep popping their head back up. Now, occasionally what I'll do is set up bouncing Bettys in front of Maxes to be able to protect them from suicidal light assaults that just are hell-bent to blow them up with C4. Because they're going to be so concentrated on the Max, more than likely they won't see the bouncing Betty, and by that time, it'll help the Max survive the firefight. So at this point, I noticed that our shields were gone, so immediately you got to get right back on point, you got to reassess where the enemies are at, and continue just to do your best to try to help your team suppress the enemy. Now, I stress the word suppression because the GD10 at this type of range is really great for this type of role. The reason why is because you can literally burst fire, and with the 50-round magazine, you can keep enemies down for a very long time. Now, this is very similar to how a heavy with a Gauss rifle would be able to do the same with an extended magazine. It's just continually sending rounds down range that enemies are going to get hit if they keep popping their head up, which is really cool. So they either have to reposition themselves and risk exposing themselves to the entire team, which will allow them to be able to put rounds on range and kill them, and or have to stay undercover, and again, it's going to slow their advance, their overall attack. So their effectiveness is gone, your effectiveness is up because you're in a great defensible position. Alright, so Infiltrators in these types of defensible situations are really invaluable, especially if you really know what you're doing. Now, the first thing you definitely want is a microphone, a way to communicate to your squad and your platoon. With the cloaking device, you literally are so much harder to detect than, let's say, like a heavy or a Max romping around trying to get intel. You know what I'm saying? The enemy will hear you a mile away if you're a Max or anything else. So what's really cool about this is it allows you to relay vital information to your squad leader, and if they're competent, they're going to be able to make the necessary adjustments to set up those defenses. Now, look at the Betty that I placed to help the Max out initially. That's called karma right there. It ended up saving my life. So, Betty, I love you, baby. Mwah! Thank you so much. I highly recommend, if you haven't already done this, invest in Bettys and anti-personnel mines. They will save your life more than you'll even know, especially if you're rocking an SMG, you're in close quarters, and you need a contingency plan. So anyways, I'm really glad I got that footage to be able to share with you guys, so hopefully you'll be thinking about some strategies. And now we're going into straight defense. Our shields are busted again. I'm going right back down on Alpha, trying to be able to call out as many targets as possible. Now in this case, because I have teammates that are helping me out, that are next to me, that are fighting alongside me, I am free to use and spam Q as much as I want. I know that I had a lot of people that asked me in my previous Shadow Arts of Infiltrator, where I was on an Overwatch position and we didn't have a whole lot of backup. I didn't press the Q key because it's very loud. Enemies that are around you will hear you shouting out how many enemies there are, and they can easily find your position. So I know everybody's at least experienced this one time in their Planetside 2 gameplay in which they're like, dude, we are so in over our heads. What do we get ourselves into? At this time, the Venu sovereignty had completely cut us off from all sorts of adjacency. So this is like the lone base that we have. We have this lonely little AMS Sunder with a ragtag team of dwindling teammates with a huge Vanu sovereignty force that continually grows and converges on our location. It just gets worse and worse. It's like the Alamo, dude. It's like ridiculously crazy. But regardless of our ultimate outcome of our defense, I have to give massive props to everybody involved because we were severely outnumbered and we held them off for literally almost 30 to 40 minutes straight up. So massive props, guys. Massive props. Good times. Alright, now getting back to the gameplay, I'm a huge advocate for staying mobile. The most important thing too is that you inadvertently have to cloak yourself. That way you're going to give off the impression that you're phasing around, which is going to make you an even harder and more frustrating target to hit. Are they going to go for the guy that is phasing in and out looking like he's like a ninja? Or are they going to go for the guy, the big fat, you know, heavy that's sitting still? You know, that's an easy target. You got to decide, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the biggest thing. You got to make yourself a really tough target in these types of games, especially if you're cloaked, because, you know, sometimes people have low graphic settings, or they may just get lucky and see you and they're shooting blind and they end up hitting you, and you got to be careful. If you're moving, this will give you more time to evade. Now, one thing about Infiltrators is that definitely, I mean, although you're going to get a couple kills here and there, don't be discouraged if you're not getting kills at this range with the Blitz. You're really there just to try to suppress the enemy and really give them this impression that there's a lot more people defending the point than there really are. And really the way that you do this and the way that you compensate for this is by bullets, the amount of bullets that you're sending down range. And by having 50 rounds in a magazine, which we've covered before, this allows you to have a lot of options to kind of act almost like a force multiplier, because in the psychology of the enemy, they're in this situation, they're getting blown up with frag grenades, they've got all sorts of crazy stuff happening. They're going to be beaten down, and by you sending rounds continuously down there to continually suppress them and keep their shields down, where they're never going to have really a moment to breathe, you're really kind of winning on a mental level rather than a physical level, which is really where Infiltrators shine. If you can play head games with your opponents and really kind of frustrate the crap out of them, you know, then you're doing a good job as an Infiltrator. So everybody, thanks again for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you picked up a couple tips and tricks that you can use to rock out on your SMG Infiltrator. If you have a video of you playing Infiltrator and want to share some videos, I'd love to help promote you, so definitely send a video response my way and hit me up. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your comments. Anyways, catch you later. This is Sarius. Rock steady, everybody, and I'll catch you on the flip side. More videos are planned. Yeah.
Enemy max spotted.
Guys, keep preparing this under. Keep preparing it.
Enemy
Shield generator critical. Generator destroyed.
visual on hostile engineers.